So there's always an unethical side to behavioral science as well, right? You can use it for good and you can use it for dark purposes. And every behavioral scientist will tell you, you've got to have a really good ethical, moral compass in order to be a behavioral scientist, because there is a lot of power in this stuff. But whether they engage with your content or not, just the fact that they see you consistently in their feed means they'll start to trust you. Now, when I first left retail, the reason I took the phone call from the guy who I ended up working for was because prior to that, like everyone else, I'd used LinkedIn to keep up with my colleagues and people who I'd met. I don't even remember accepting his connection request, but he was there. And every time I opened LinkedIn, he'd posted a funny meme or a joke or whatever. He had a comedy writer writing stuff for him at one point, and he's an ex-comedian himself. So his stuff was hilarious. And I always remember opening LinkedIn. It was the only funny thing on LinkedIn, and he really stood out. So when he said, "Paul, do you want to have a chat?" I said, "Yeah, of course I want to have a chat." It's the mere exposure effect. Like, he hadn't given me any reason to believe that he was an expert or somebody credible. I'd only read funny posts by him, but I was already intrigued and curious as to how he could stand out in that field, be consistently in my feed, and what did he want from me? I was curious. You've also got things like,
I was going to jump in on that. It's interesting because, excuse me, there are people who post all the time. Now, I don't know this person. I haven't seen his stuff, but none of his stuff, it sounds like, was, "Hey, look at me. Hey, buy from me. Hey, I'm great." None of it. He brought value to you through a smile and a chuckle, maybe a belly laugh from time to time. Whereas people, I think, try too hard with, "Hey, trust me," or "I've got this, and we've got a special," or whatever.
Yeah. But then when you combine something like the mere exposure effect with video where they are seeing it person, and I think this is where a lot of businesses miss out on, right? A lot of businesses hide behind a brand. They have a brand page. They're scared to post from their personal profile. They try not to be identified because they want to build a business. Well, that's great, but a business is the sum of its people. And what I speak to people about a lot is, if you're in a crowded space, especially, this is really, really important. If somebody comes up against you and somebody else who offers very similar services or products, traditionally that's a race to the bottom. Who's cheapest? Because I don't know anything about either of you. You both seem to offer the same services. I just want to know, what can I get for my money?
Right.
When you start to connect emotional knowledge with a business, with a brand, because you've met the people behind the scenes, you feel like you know them a little bit, even just a little bit.
Right.
All of a sudden, that changes the game altogether, because now it's not a race to the bottom anymore, because I trust this person a little bit more than I trust these people. And actually, I'm willing to pay a little bit more for that trust, because what I'm doing is important to me. It's my business. So then you change from a race to the bottom to a race to value, and you've put yourself in pole position. And as humans, we're drawn to faces and features. It's inbuilt in our DNA. So I don't know whether you will remember back in Manchester in the UK, we had some riots some years ago, not the recent ones. 2008, 2009, I think it was around about then. We had some horrendous riots. And the way they solved a lot of the damage that was being done to shops was, during the day, whilst the riots weren't happening, artists were asked to come out and spray paint babies' faces onto the shutters. Not because babies were, all right, there was a psychological element of nobody wants to hurt a baby, right? That was definitely there. But the babies' photos were all chosen because of the shape of their eyes, because they were the right aspect, the right ratio, that made people see it was a human. And it just raw, subconscious behavior. It's a human. I can't do any damage. I associate with that. There's a mental connection there. So the same applies to video. If people can see you, they can create an emotional connection with you.